On my wedding day, just before walking down the aisle, my sister pulled me aside and whispered, "Don't do this. He was with me last night." I laughed, thought she was being cruel. Then I checked his location history on his phone. He'd been at her apartment. I didn't cancel the wedding. I let it happen. Then at the reception, I took the mic and said, "I now pronounce myself free." I played their texts on the big screen. My mom slapped her. He ran. I stayed and danced alone in my wedding dress until midnight. My name is Erica, and I live in Rockford, Illinois. I planned my whole wedding myself, every single piece of it. From the little wooden signs on the chairs to the soft peach flowers I picked out 9 months before the day. It was supposed to be perfect. I worked 2 jobs for most of the year to pay for it because I didn't want to owe anyone anything. I thought if I controlled the details, nothing could go wrong. I didn't expect the people to be the problem. I met Drew when I was 29. He was sweet. He listened when I talked. He always brought me coffee on mornings he stayed over. It wasn't anything flashy. He didn't have a fancy job or a lot of money, but he made me feel seen. I hadn't felt that before. Not in any real way. My younger sister, Ashley, was always louder than me. Prettier too, if you ask most people. She could walk into a room and take it over. In high school, people always asked if we were cousins instead of sisters. She hated when I'd get any attention, even just a compliment on my shoes. But I thought we were fine now that we were older. I thought she'd grown up. We didn't always get along, but I never thought she'd do this. The night before my wedding, Drew and I followed tradition and stayed apart. He was supposed to be at his best man's place. I stayed in the bridal suite with my maid of honor, Stacy, and a couple other friends. We drank rose, painted nails, watched reruns of Friends. I felt calm. I felt ready. The morning of, everything moved fast. Hair, makeup, pictures. The coordinator kept saying, "Let's keep the bride happy." And I remember thinking, this is the happiest I've ever been. And it was true. Until it wasn't. I was standing in the hallway outside the bridal suite. I could hear the music starting. The guests were seated. Everything was right on schedule. Then Ashley walked up to me. She looked perfect. Like she always did. Her hair was up, makeup clean, dress sitting just right. She was holding her bouquet, like it weighed nothing. She leaned in close, and her voice was soft, steady. She said, "Don't do this. He was with me last night." I laughed. Like actually laughed. "What the hell are you talking about?" She smirked. "Drew. He came to my apartment. We didn't just talk." It hit me like a car. But I didn't show it. I stared at her, and I think she wanted to see me crack. I think she thought I'd break down or scream or slap her. But I didn't. I walked past her. Calm. Dead quiet inside. Back into the suite. Drew had left his phone on the counter during hair and makeup earlier. He said he was going to be fully present, whatever that meant. I picked it up. I knew the passcode. Of course I did. We'd been together 3 years. I went to Google Maps. Checked the location history. He'd been at Ashley's apartment. 9:42 p.m. to 2:27 a.m. I stood there staring at the screen for a full minute. Everything around me felt muffled. My stylist was talking about lip gloss. My mom was in the mirror adjusting her earrings. But I couldn't hear any of it. I had 1 minute to decide everything. My hand was shaking, but my face wasn't. I slipped the phone into my purse, walked out the door, looked the coordinator in the eye and said, "Let's go." Drew was waiting at the altar. He looked nervous. Not the cute kind, the guilty kind. But he smiled when he saw me. I smiled back. We said our vows. We kissed. Everyone clapped. My mom cried. My dad gave me this weird look like something was off, but he didn't say anything. He never does. The photos were perfect. We laughed. Toasted. I held his hand and whispered, "I love you," just loud enough for people to hear. I looked like the happiest bride in the world. And then we got to the reception. It was inside a barn-style venue. High ceilings. Lights strung across the beams. Tables set with candles and little name cards. Everyone buzzing. glasses clinking, the whole damn fairy tale. After dinner, people started lining up for speeches. My maid of honor spoke. Drew's best man told a story that made everyone laugh. Then Drew thanked the crowd. And then I asked for the mic. I stood in front of the room, holding a glass of champagne. The DJ muted the music. Everyone turned toward me. Even Ashley sitting 2 tables back, looking bored. I just want to thank everyone for coming today, I said. This has been a really special day. And I wanted to share something even more special with all of you. I walked to the screen behind the DJ booth. We'd set it up to play a slideshow of our childhood photos and engagement pictures. Instead, I plugged in a USB. The screen lit up with a screen recording I took from Drew's phone. Their texts. From last night. And before that.
Dates. Pictures.
Things I can't even say out loud.
Gasps.
Silence. Then someone shouted. I think it was my cousin. Ashley stood up like she was going to say something, but my mom was faster. She walked straight over and slapped her.
Hard.
The whole room heard it. Drew? He didn't even try to explain. He just walked out. No jacket. No goodbye. Left his own wedding like it was a fire drill. I stood there and said, I now pronounce myself free. And I danced. Alone. In my wedding dress. Until midnight.
People left.
The caterers packed up. The lights dimmed. But I kept dancing.
Because I needed to.
I didn't cry that night. But the next morning I did. I didn't speak to either of them for 2 days after the wedding. I turned my phone off. I stayed at a cheap motel on the edge of Rockford, the kind with stained carpets and vending machines that barely worked. I needed to be alone. Not just physically, mentally, too. Everyone was calling me. My mom. My aunts. Even friends who didn't bother to RSVP to the wedding. Suddenly, everyone had something to say. When I finally turned my phone back on, I had 94 texts, 23 voicemails, and one from Drew that I opened and read over and over.
I am sorry.
It wasn't supposed to mean anything. Please talk to me. He was staying with a coworker. He hadn't gone home. Probably afraid I'd show up and burn his clothes in the driveway. Not that I didn't think about it. Ashley, though. Ashley was quiet.
No apology. No explanation.
Not even a coward's excuse. Until 3 days later. She showed up at my apartment. I'd just gotten back home. My neighbors were pretending not to look at me. News spreads fast in a town like Rockford. Especially when someone plays a cheating scandal on a 10-foot screen at a wedding reception. I wasn't ready to see her, but I opened the door anyway. She was wearing sunglasses. Makeup still perfect. She didn't look like someone who had ruined her sister's wedding. She looked like someone who had just walked out of brunch. You gonna hit me too? She asked, smirking. I didn't answer. Just stood there. She stepped inside without asking.
Typical.
You made a big show, she said. You embarrassed both of us. Both of us. I shut the door hard behind her. You slept with my fiancé the night before our wedding. She rolled her eyes. I didn't make you marry him. That was your call. I stared at her, trying to understand what the hell kind of person could talk like that. But I didn't get an answer. Because she didn't think she'd done anything wrong. She sat on my couch like it was her place. You always made everything about you, she said. The perfect wedding.
The dress.
The dumb flowers. You didn't even ask if I was okay. You just wanted a show. I wanted a life, I said quietly. And you helped destroy it. She laughed. It wasn't much of a life if one night could ruin it. I could have screamed. I could have slapped her like Mom did. But I didn't. Instead, I asked, how long? She raised an eyebrow. How long what? You and Drew. She looked away, then smiled like she was proud. 7 months.
7
months. Not just a one-time thing. Not a drunken mistake. A real affair. A second relationship. Behind my back. While I picked out centerpieces. I nodded. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just said, get out. She didn't fight it. She just stood up, brushed imaginary lint off her jacket, and walked to the door. Before she left, she turned back. You're not as good as you think you are, she said. That's why he came to me. Then she left. That was the moment I realized something. I wasn't done. This wasn't over. I thought I could move on, that I could just erase them from my life and start over. But that was before I found out what they really did behind my back. It started when I got a message on Facebook from someone I didn't know. A woman named Cassidy. Her profile picture was of a golden retriever and a baby, which didn't tell me much. But the message did. Hey, you don't know me, but I used to work with Drew. Just wanted to say, I saw what happened. You didn't deserve any of it. Also, I think you should know something. He said some weird stuff about you. Like personal stuff. Might not be my place, but it creeped me out. I stared at the message for a long time. Cassidy didn't seem like she was trying to stir drama. Her profile was real. Local. Her friends list included people I knew from high school. So I replied, "What kind of stuff?" She messaged back within minutes. "He used to say you were lucky to have him. That you were damaged goods because of your past. He told us about your therapy, your anxiety meds, even about your ex. He made fun of you when you weren't around." I felt my stomach drop. There was only one person I ever talked to about those things. Late at night, lying in bed, when I trusted him.
He told people?
She continued. Also, I think he was seeing someone else too. Not just your sister. There was a girl at work. Younger. I don't know her name, but they were close. I read it twice. Another woman? I thanked her. I told her she didn't have to say anything else. But I couldn't stop shaking. I went into the closet and pulled out the wedding photo book I hadn't returned yet. I flipped through it. Every picture of him, smiling, felt like a lie. My hands were trembling, but I kept going until I got to the photo of all the bridesmaids. Ashley was standing in the middle. Next to her, a girl I hadn't recognized at first. A last-minute guest. Said she was Ashley's friend from yoga. She looked about 24. Long brown hair. Tight dress. Even for a wedding. I remembered her laughing too loud, asking for shots during the speeches. I'd thought she was annoying. I didn't know she was sleeping with my fiancé. The date on that photo? 2 months before the wedding. That's when I knew it wasn't just betrayal. It was a game. And I was the target. And then came the final straw. A letter in the mail. No return address.
Just my name.
Inside, there was a printed email. Between Drew and Ashley. From back in January. It wasn't just flirting. It was plans. They were planning to be together.
To move in.
After the wedding. After my wedding. They were going to wait for me to use my savings, plan everything, go through the whole day. And then he was going to leave me. She wanted to be there for me when it happened. It wasn't an accident. It was a setup. And someone had sent it to me. I stared at the letter. I didn't know who had mailed it. Maybe Cassidy. Maybe someone else who knew. Maybe someone sick of their lies. It didn't matter. I had proof. And now, I had a plan. I didn't want revenge at first. I wanted peace. But peace doesn't come when you're surrounded by people who took everything from you and laughed while doing it. I thought I could walk away. I thought dancing alone at my reception was the end. It wasn't. It was just the start. Once I had the printed email between Drew and Ashley, I made copies. I left one in my safe, mailed one to my lawyer friend in Chicago, and kept one in my purse. Then I got to work. First, I met with a lawyer. I had been on Drew's lease for a year. The apartment was technically in both our names, but I paid the security deposit and every damn electric bill. I wanted him out. My lawyer filed a formal eviction notice. It shocked him. He had assumed I'd just leave and disappear. But I didn't. He fought it weekly, but in court, the texts and emails I had made it clear. He broke our agreement. I stayed in the apartment. He moved out with a duffel bag and a bruise on his ego. Next, I went to Ashley's workplace. She worked as a dental assistant at a small clinic in town. I didn't go there to scream or cause a scene. I went to drop off an envelope. Inside were her messages to Drew, the screenshots of them laughing about how dumb I was, and one last note I wrote by hand. You can mess with me. You can even take what's mine. But don't forget, people watch. And they remember. I handed the envelope to the receptionist with her name on it. She would read it during lunch. And I knew she'd look her coworkers in the eye differently afterward. But that wasn't the end. I started posting. Not some emotional rant or dramatic tell-all. Just the truth. On Facebook, Instagram, a private Reddit post in a local group. I attached the texts, the timeline, the wedding day story.
No insults. No cursing.
Just what happened in order. It spread fast. Rockford's not a big town. Within a week, Ashley stopped showing up to work. I heard through my mom's cousin that she got let go. Office morale, they said. Not professional to be a scandal.
Drew?
He was fired too. His job had been at a private financial firm. Cassidy, the girl who messaged me, said his boss read the texts and didn't want personal drama affecting the image of their team.
He tried to lie.
But the receipts were too good. I thought that would be enough. It wasn't. I started getting texts from Drew. At first, angry. Then sad. Then desperate. You ruined my life. We could have worked through it. I was confused. I made a mistake. Please talk to me. I ignored them. Until the last one. She left me. Ashley's gone. That made me pause. So, I did something I didn't expect. I messaged Ashley. He told me you're gone. That true? She replied. We were never going to work.
He's weak.
I just wanted to win. I stared at that last line. I just wanted to win. She wasn't sorry. She never had been. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive to her place and rip every lie out of her throat. But instead, I wrote one message. You didn't win. You lost the only person who ever forgave you. I blocked her after that. Weeks passed. I went back to work. I started seeing a therapist again. I even joined a hiking group. I needed air. Real people. Something beyond the four walls of what I had lost. Then came the final twist. My mom. She came over one night with a plastic container of lasagna. She sat down, didn't say much at first. Then she looked me in the eyes. She called me crying last week, she said. Ashley? She nodded. She said she's sorry. That she's alone. She wants to come home. I waited. Then Mom said. I told her no. That hit harder than I expected. My mom had always tried to keep the peace. But she finally saw the truth. She destroyed you, she said. And she didn't even flinch. We sat in silence for a long time. Then we ate lasagna. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something like peace. Not because I got revenge, but because I survived. And they didn't. Drew left town. Last I heard, he's in Springfield, trying to start over. No job, no friends. Ashley moved to Peoria with some guy she met online. Another new life, another lie. As for me, I stayed in Rockford. I kept the apartment. I framed one of the wedding photos, just me, spinning alone on the dance floor. I hung it on the wall. Not as a memory of what I lost, but as proof of what I lived through. And that I danced anyway.